The soup in your pantry poisoned Lake Erie. The ketchup in your fridge contained glass. The spices in your cabinet could kill you. These aren't small brands you've never heard of. These are the names your family has trusted for generations, exposed for fraud, contamination, and environmental crimes most people never see. One company paid $40 million for cheating farmers. Another racked up 5,400 environmental violations. A third ignored workers who reported glass in the food and kept shipping anyway. In the next 20 minutes, I'll expose exactly which 10 grocery brands have been betraying your trust. And make sure you watch until the end because I'll reveal 4 brands that actually deserve a place in your kitchen. 10. Ocean Spray. The red can. The holiday staple. 70% of America's cranberry market controlled by one company. Ocean Spray built their empire on wholesome imagery. Farmers and waiters. Cranberry bogs at sunrise. A cooperative that cares about the little guy. Then federal courts revealed what they really are. A cartel. Ocean Spray was found guilty of antitrust violations so severe the settlement ranged from $20 to $40 million. They manipulated the entire cranberry market, rigged auctions, artificially depressed prices, systematically cheated the very farmers whose faces appear in their commercials. They control 70% of the market. They use that dominance like a weapon. When growers tried to sell to competitors, Ocean Spray punished them with discriminatory practices. Farmers who appeared in those heartwarming ads, Ocean Spray was stealing from them the whole time. We remain committed to our grower owners and consumers. $40 million in court says otherwise. Here's what those sunrise commercials don't show you. The farmers who lost their farms because Ocean Spray manipulated prices below sustainable levels. The growers who couldn't sell to anyone else because Ocean Spray controlled the market. The cooperatives that should have protected farmers turned into weapons against them. But cheating farmers wasn't enough. They had to cheat you too. In 2020, Ocean Spray paid another $5.4 million for lying about ingredients. No artificial flavors, printed right on the label. Inside the bottles, synthetic malic acid and fumaric acid. Lab-made chemicals in products marketed as pure and natural. Open a can of Ocean Spray. That jellied cranberry sauce wobbling onto your plate. Looks wholesome, feels traditional. Behind it, a company that cheated farmers out of millions and lied about what's actually inside. The cooperative that cares about farmers was cheating them. The natural brand was synthetic. The wholesome image was a lie wrapped in a lie. For anyone who bought Ocean Spray because it felt like supporting real farmers, you funded the company exploiting them. For anyone who chose no artificial flavors because you read labels, you read marketing, not truth. Got Ocean Spray in your pantry? That can represent $40 million in fraud from a company that cheated everyone. The farmers who grow it, the customers who buy it, and the market itself. 70% of the cranberry market. $40 million in fraud. Zero integrity. If they'll cheat farmers out of millions, imagine what they'll hide from you. 9. Campbell's. The red and white can. The soup your grandmother made when you were sick. The brand that's been in American kitchens for over a century. Campbell's isn't just a company, it's a memory. Comfort in a bowl. Then the environmental investigators started counting. Over 5,400 Clean Water Act violations. Not paperwork errors, not technicalities. Massive quantities of phosphorus, ammonia, E. coli, oil, and grease pumped directly into Lake Erie. Campbell's was dumping industrial waste into one of America's Great Lakes, the same lake that supplies drinking water to millions of families. The same water communities around Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania depend on. The same lake your grandchildren might swim in. Here's what the comfort food commercials don't mention. Proper waste disposal costs money. Dumping it into public waterways is free, until you get caught. Campbell's made that calculation. Your drinking water lost. Campbell's pollution is causing toxic algae blooms, dead zones where nothing survives, fish kills visible from shore. They didn't just break environmental laws, they poisoned an ecosystem to save money on doing the right thing. And they knew exactly what they were doing. Campbell's had to formally admit liability in federal court. A trial is scheduled for 2026 where they'll face charges for these environmental crimes. We are committed to environmental sustainability. 5,400 violations. One Great Lake. Exposed. Picture this. A grandmother heating up Campbell's soup for her grandchildren. The same soup her mother made for her. 3 generations of trust. Meanwhile, that same company is pumping poison into the water those grandchildren will drink for the rest of their lives. For over 100 years, Campbell's sold comfort, warmth, the feeling of being cared for. Now they're facing federal charges for poisoning drinking water while running commercials about soup that warms your soul. Your grandmother's soup, your grandchildren's poisoned water. 8. Heinz. The glass bottle, the slow pour, the ketchup so iconic it's in every diner, every backyard barbecue, every family fridge in America. Heinz didn't just sell ketchup, they sold a standard, the brand everything else gets compared to. Then glass ended up inside the bottles instead of around them. Pick up that iconic bottle. Feel the weight of it, that shape you've known your whole life. Now imagine what was inside some of those bottles. The same glass, shattered and mixed into what you squeeze onto your kids' plates. Broken bottles during manufacturing, glass shards in the ketchup, fragments that could cause choking, internal bleeding. The kind of contamination that turns a family dinner into an emergency room visit. But here's what makes this story different from a simple accident. Workers saw it happening. They reported the glass contamination to management. They raised concerns. They tried to stop it. Management kept production running anyway. Here's what the quality control reports don't tell you. Stopping the line would have cost money. Investigating the problem would have slowed output. Every hour of shutdown hits the profit margin. So management made a choice. Your family's safety wasn't worth the lost revenue. We maintain the highest standards of quality and safety. Their own workers tried to warn them. They ignored it. They kept shipping. That's not a quality control failure. That's a corporate culture that decided glass in your food was an acceptable cost of doing business. Workers who cared more about safety than the executives who signed their paychecks. For anyone who trusted Heinz because your family always has, your family trusted a company that ignored its own workers' warning about danger. For anyone with that iconic bottle in your fridge right now, it came from a company where profit beats safety every time. Workers saw glass. Management saw profits. You saw nothing until now. Drop a comment if Heinz is in your fridge right now. Let's see how many kitchens they've compromised. Glass in your ketchup is bad, but what McCormick hides in your spices can actually kill you. 7. McCormick. The red cap. The spice rack staple. The brand serious cooks trust for quality and purity. McCormick didn't just sell spices. They sold the promise of premium. Higher prices because you're getting better quality. Here's what that premium price actually bought you. Salmonella. In the black pepper, in the crushed red pepper, in the seasoning blends, bacteria that causes severe food poisoning, hospitalization, and death, hiding in the spices on your shelf. But here's what makes spice contamination different from anything else we'll talk about today. You don't cook your spices. Think about how you use pepper. You shake it onto eggs that are already on the plate, onto salads, onto finished dishes. The food is done cooking. The bacteria in that spice goes straight into your mouth without any heat to kill it. When there's bacteria in raw chicken, cooking destroys it. When there's bacteria in your pepper, nothing destroys it. You eat it live. Here's what the premium label doesn't mention. Spices sit on warehouse shelves for months, sometimes years. That red cap doesn't have an expiration date you actually check. Bacteria doesn't need fresh food to grow. It just needs time. And McCormick gives it plenty. McCormick was selling bacteria delivery systems at premium prices. We are committed to providing safe, high-quality products. Premium prices, premium bacteria. That's their commitment. Open your spice cabinet right now. Find the McCormick containers. Check the date, if there even is one. Those spices might have been sitting there for years. Every shake onto your finished food is an act of trust that McCormick hasn't earned. McCormick charges more because they want you to believe more expensive means safer. It doesn't. It just means higher profit margins on products that could make you seriously ill. For anyone who's been shaking McCormick onto finished dishes for years, you've been trusting a company that let dangerous bacteria into products that never get cooked. For anyone who paid extra thinking premium meant protection, you paid for marketing, not safety. Check your spice rack. That red cap isn't a sign of quality anymore. Premium prices, premium bacteria, danger in every shake. 6. Del Monte, the green bean casserole, the canned fruit in the pantry, the vegetables you buy because fresh goes bad too fast. Del Monte was supposed to be the practical choice. Affordable, reliable, safe enough. Then investigators found what they were doing to the people who pick your food. In 2024, Del Monte paid $2 million to settle charges for how they treated agricultural workers. Excessive hours, no rest periods, unsafe conditions. The people harvesting your vegetables treated like machines that don't need breaks. $2 million. That's what Del Monte paid for treating human beings as disposable. We value our employees and their well-being. $2 million exposed exactly how much they value them. Here's what the friendly green label doesn't show you. Workers in fields during brutal heat with no mandated rest. Families depending on wages from a company that sees them as costs to cut. Human beings behind every can on the shelf. Ground down so you can save 50 cents on green beans. This isn't about politics. This isn't about labor disputes. This is about a company that made money by grinding down the people who do the hardest work in their supply chain. The workers picking green beans in brutal heat. The families depending on those wages. The human beings behind every can on the shelf. Del Monte looked at them and saw costs to be cut, not people to be protected. When you buy Del Monte, you're buying from a company that settled for $2 million because of how they treated the most vulnerable people in their operation. The vegetables might be fine, the ethics aren't. For anyone who cares about where food comes from and who makes it, now you know how Del Monte treats the people at the bottom of their supply chain. For anyone who thought cheap vegetables were just good value, that low price has a human cost someone else paid. They saved money on workers. They shipped you the savings, the practical choice, the $2 million settlement. Now you know what's behind the label. 5. Green Giant, the Jolly Green Giant, the friendly mascot, the vegetables that made generations of kids believe eating green things might actually be okay. Green Giant sold health, wholesome, good for you. Then they shipped vegetables contaminated with bacteria that specifically hunts certain people. Listeria monocytogenes. Most bacteria makes everyone equally sick. Listeria is different. It targets seniors, pregnant women, anyone with a compromised immune system. It seeks out the vulnerable like a heat-seeking missile. For healthy adults, listeria might mean a rough week. For your 75-year-old father, it causes meningitis, blood infections, and death. For pregnant women, it crosses the placental barrier. It attacks the baby directly. Here's what the Jolly mascot doesn't tell you. Listeria thrives in exactly the environment frozen vegetables create. Cold doesn't kill it. Cold preserves it. That bag of frozen corn sitting in your freezer? If listeria got in during processing, it's been waiting, patiently, for months. Green Giant had listeria growing in their processing equipment, the machines that touch every bag of vegetables, breeding deadly bacteria that specifically hunts the people you're most worried about protecting. We are committed to providing safe, nutritious products. Bacteria that targets the elderly and pregnant women. That's what they were committed to shipping. Here's the cruel irony. Who buys the most frozen vegetables? Families trying to feed elderly parents something healthy, pregnant women trying to eat right for the baby, health-conscious people who think vegetables are the safe choice. Green Giant turned that good intention into targeted danger. For anyone feeding frozen vegetables to elderly parents because vegetables are healthy, Green Giant shipped bacteria that specifically attacks their age group. For pregnant women choosing vegetables for the baby, Listeria doesn't care about your good intentions. The Jolly Green Giant, the friendly mascot, the bacteria that hunts the vulnerable. Listeria targets seniors and pregnant women. Hit subscribe so you know which brands are targeting your family. 4. Pillsbury, the Doughboy, the poke in the belly, the flour that's been part of family baking for generations. Pillsbury didn't just sell flour. They sold the tradition of baking together. Grandparents and grandchildren, holiday cookies, birthday cakes, memories made in the kitchen. Then they sent 63 families to the hospital. E. coli, 24 states, kidney failure, severe dehydration, life-threatening complications from flour, not from raw chicken, not from undercooked meat. From flour, the most basic ingredient in your kitchen turned into something that put people in the hospital with failing kidneys. 63 families just wanted to bake. They ended up in emergency rooms. We take food safety extremely seriously. 63 hospitalizations across 24 states. That's how seriously they took it. Here's what the Doughboy commercials don't show you. A grandmother teaching her granddaughter to make Christmas cookies, then watching that child get hospitalized with kidney failure. A family baking a birthday cake together, then spending that birthday in an emergency room. The flour on the counter, the bacteria invisible, the trust completely misplaced. Think about what flour touches. The Christmas cookies you make with grandchildren, birthday cakes, homemade bread recipes passed down for generations. The simple joy of baking together. Pillsbury contaminated those moments. Families who just wanted to make holiday cookies ended up with their loved ones in the hospital. Grandparents who wanted to teach grandchildren to bake ended up with a medical crisis. The Doughboy commercials show warm kitchens and happy families. They don't show the hospital bills. They don't show kidney failure. They don't show 63 families whose baking tradition turned into a nightmare. For anyone who bakes with Pillsbury, because that's what your family has always used, your tradition includes a brand that hospitalized 63 people. For grandparents baking with grandchildren, the flour in your pantry comes from a company that turned that simple joy into a health crisis. The Doughboy, 63 families. Kidney failure from flour, 63 hospitalizations from flour. But the real danger is what happens when these companies start combining. Dre, Kraft, Heinz, two of America's most trusted names. Kraft, Heinz, merged into one company in 2015. The logic seemed simple. Combine two iconic brands, create a powerhouse of American food. What they actually created was a math problem. One company with glass in their ketchup plus one company with its own quality issues equals what exactly? Not better quality. Mergers like this aren't about making food safer. They're about cutting costs, consolidating facilities, reducing redundancy. In corporate speak, that means firing the people who do quality control and hoping nobody notices. Here's what the merger press releases didn't mention. When two companies combine, they don't double their safety teams. They cut them. Redundant positions get eliminated. Oversight gets consolidated. The executives get bonuses for reducing headcount. The people who actually check the food, they're the redundancy that gets reduced. Since the merger, Kraft Heinz has cut costs aggressively across every part of their operation. That's what mergers are designed to do. You don't pay investment bankers hundreds of millions of dollars to make the food better. You pay them to make the spreadsheets better. So now that Kraft mac and cheese, that Philadelphia cream cheese, that Oscar Mayer bacon, that Velveeta, that Planters peanuts, they all answer to the same corporate structure, the same cost-cutting philosophy, the same executives who decided glass warnings weren't worth stopping the line. Our merger creates a company built on quality and consumer trust. Two companies with problems merged. What do you think got better, the food or the profit margins? Here's what most people miss. These brands still look separate, different packaging, different commercials, different shelf positions, but every quality control decision, every cost-cutting measure, every choice between safety and profit comes from the same boardroom. The brands look different. The problems are centralized. For anyone who avoids Heinz but buys Kraft, same company. For anyone who trusts Philadelphia because it seems different, same owners. For anyone who thinks Oscar Mayer is separate, same executives making the same decisions. Two companies merged, only one thing got better, and it wasn't the food. Two Conagra. You've probably never heard of Conagra, but you've definitely bought their products. Healthy Choice, Marie Callender's, Hunt's, Chef Boyardee, Slim Jim, Ready Whip, Duncan Hines, Birdseye, Pam, Orville Redenbacher's. One parent company, dozens of trusted labels, all answering to the same executives you've never heard of. That's the trick of modern food conglomerates. They don't want you to connect the dots, because if you knew one company controlled all these brands, you'd notice something uncomfortable. Here's what the separate marketing budgets don't want you to realize. When you avoid one brand because of a problem and switch to another, you might just be moving from one Conagra product to a different Conagra product. You're not actually changing anything. You're just picking a different label from the same company. They've built an invisible empire. Brands that compete with each other on the shelf. Brands that advertise against each other. Brands that seem like completely different companies. All of them answering to the same boardroom, the same cost-cutting, the same corporate philosophy. We maintain the highest standards across all our brands. Highest standards across all these brands. From one company you've never heard of making decisions you never see. Here's why this matters more than a single bad brand. If Campbell's has a problem, you switch to something else. But if you don't know, Conagra owns multiple alternatives, you're not actually switching. You're just moving around inside the same company's portfolio while thinking you made a choice. The diversity is an illusion. The ownership is concentrated, and the decisions that affect every brand happen in the same room. Google Conagra brands before your next shopping trip. Count how many are in your kitchen right now. Then ask yourself how much choice you actually had. One company, dozens of labels. The illusion of choice. One company, many faces, but number one is worse because you won't even know who to blame. 1. Store brands. Great value. Kirkland, Market Pantry, Good and Gather. Simple Truth, Nature's Promise. They look different, they cost less. They feel like you're being smart with your money. Here's the secret the grocery industry doesn't want you to know. Most store brands aren't made by the stores that sell them. They're made by the exact same factories, sometimes the exact same production lines, as the name brands we've been exposing. Same product, different label, no way to trace it back. Here's what the low price tag doesn't tell you. When a name brand factory has a problem, it doesn't just affect that brand. Contract manufacturers supply multiple retailers simultaneously. One facility can be shipping the same product under 6 different store brand names to 6 different grocery chains. Walmart's Great Value, Target's Good and Gather, Kroger's Simple Truth, Safeway's House brand, all potentially coming from the same place, all hiding behind different labels. We source from approved suppliers who meet our quality standards. They don't make it. They often don't inspect the facilities themselves. They just negotiate a price, slap their label on it, and sell it. That's the store brand shell game. The label on the front tells you nothing about who actually made the product. You can't research the company because the company's name isn't on the package. When something goes wrong, responsibility gets split between the retailer and the contract manufacturer, and nobody's face ends up on the news. Pick up a store brand can, look at the back, find the manufacturer. Most of the time, you'll see a code or a city, not a company name you can actually research. That anonymity isn't an accident, it's a feature. Here's the worst part. Store brands often have less oversight than name brands. Retailers are buying on price. Contract manufacturers are competing on price. Margins are thin. Quality control is whatever's left over after everyone's taken their cut. The cheapest option isn't the smartest option. It's the one with the least accountability when something goes wrong. For anyone buying store brands to save money, you might be buying the same product from the same facility as a name brand with less transparency about who made it. For anyone who thinks avoiding name brands means avoiding their problems, you might be eating the exact same product with a different sticker, different label, same factory, same product, less accountability. The cheapest option in the store might have the highest hidden cost. 10 brands: farmer fraud, poisoned lakes, ignored workers, targeted bacteria, mass hospitalizations, corporate mergers, hidden empires, shell games. That's what's in your pantry. That's what's in your fridge. That's what you've been feeding your family. But 4 brands prove groceries can still be honest. Companies that actually test their products, actually trace their ingredients, actually care whether you get sick. 10 brands exposed, and most people have no idea. Hit subscribe so you never trust a label without knowing who's really behind it. Safe pick number 1. Lakewood Organic. No $40 million fraud settlements, no rigged auctions, no farmers cheated out of their livelihood, just juice. Lakewood Organic started in 1935 as a family farm in Florida. 3 generations later, they're still family-owned, still small batch, still actually organic, verified by people who check, not just claimed on a label. While Ocean Spray was manipulating the cranberry market and cheating farmers, Lakewood was doing something old-fashioned, paying fair prices, making juice honestly, keeping synthetic chemicals out of products labeled natural. Open a bottle of Lakewood, smell it. That's actual fruit, not synthetic acids engineered to taste like fruit. The color comes from cranberries, not from a lab. The ingredients list is short enough to read in one breath. No class action lawsuits, no federal settlements, no antitrust violations, no pattern of deception. We believe in honest ingredients and honest business. 89 years of actually doing it proves they mean it. It costs more than Ocean Spray, a few dollars more for a company that hasn't paid $40 million in fraud settlements, for juice from a company that didn't build its empire by cheating the people who grow the fruit. Small batch, family-owned, 0 lawsuits. That's the difference between a brand and a company with integrity. Safe. Pick number 2. Simply Organic. No bacteria in the pepper, no hidden allergens in the blends, no premium prices for contaminated products. Simply Organic does what McCormick charges extra to pretend to do: actually test their products. Third-party verified, USDA Organic certified. Every batch tested before it ships. The kind of quality control that matters when you're selling products people don't cook. Open a jar of Simply Organic spices. Smell the difference. That's potency. That's freshness. That's what spices are supposed to smell like before they sit on warehouse shelves for years. The color is vibrant because the product actually is. Here's the difference you can see. Simply Organic spices have color, aroma, potency. They turn over inventory because they're actually selling quality, not just sitting on shelves waiting to be bought. We believe organic means more than a label. No dangerous bacteria in the pepper. They actually believe it. Same price as McCormick, actual testing included. For anyone who's been shaking McCormick onto finished food for years, this is what spices look like when a company actually checks what's inside before shipping it. Tested products. Real quality. Spices that are actually safe to shake on finished food. Safe. Pick number 3. Cascadian Farm. No bacteria targeting your elderly parents. No pesticide levels above legal limits. No worker exploitation settlements. Cascadian Farm started in 1972 when organic farming was considered crazy. 50 years later, they're still doing what Green Giant won't: growing vegetables without shipping danger to vulnerable people. USDA Organic certified. No synthetic pesticides. Supply chains they actually trace. Facilities they actually know. Open a bag of Cascadian Farm vegetables. Look at the color. That deep green that frozen vegetables are supposed to have, not the pale, freezer-burned look of products that have been sitting in cold storage for years. This is what vegetables look like when a company actually cares about what they're shipping. We believe in food that's good for people and the planet. No listeria targeting seniors. No illegal pesticide levels. They're actually doing it. Slightly more expensive than Green Giant. No bacteria that hunts the elderly included. For anyone feeding frozen vegetables to elderly parents or pregnant women, Cascadian Farm isn't shipping products that specifically target vulnerable immune systems. That's worth a few extra dollars. Clean farms, tested products, vegetables that are actually safe for everyone at the table. Safe pick at number 4, King Arthur. No 63 families in the hospital. No kidney failure from flour. No emergency rooms filled with people who just wanted to bake cookies. King Arthur has been milling flour since 1790. 235 years. Somehow they've managed to not hospitalize anyone. Here's the difference. King Arthur is employee-owned, not shareholder-owned. The people making decisions about quality are the same people whose reputation is on the line. Cutting corners doesn't make executives rich. It makes employees look bad. Open a bag of King Arthur flour. Feel the texture. Fine and consistent, not the gritty, inconsistent quality of mass-produced flour. Smell it. Clean. Fresh. Not the stale, warehouse smell of product that's been sitting for months. This is what flour is supposed to be. They publish their testing protocols. They trace every bag. They operate with the kind of transparency that disappears when a company answers to shareholders instead of employees. We believe flour should be safe enough to bake with your grandchildren. No hospitalizations, no outbreaks, no family baking traditions turned into medical emergencies. They actually bake what they believe. Same price as Pillsbury. 0 hospitalizations included. For anyone who wants to bake with grandchildren without gambling, King Arthur is flour from a company that hasn't sent families to the hospital. That's what 235 years of employee ownership looks like. 10 brands, 10 different kinds of betrayal, 1 kitchen that needs cleaning out. The truth is simple. Not all groceries are created equal. Some cans look wholesome on the outside. Behind that label, cheated farmers, poisoned lakes, ignored workers, bacteria that hunts your parents, companies that hospitalized families, mergers that made everything worse, empires you can't see, shell games you can't win. But now you know what to avoid, and you know what to trust. Lakewood Organic. Simply organic. Cascadian Farm. King Arthur. Safe groceries still exist, they just don't spend millions on commercials hiding what's really inside. Your kitchen should be a place of comfort, not a gamble. Drop a comment with the brands from this list sitting in your kitchen right now. Let's see how many pantries they've compromised. If this helped you, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More exposés coming. Hidden food industry secrets, corporate lies, everything you need to shop smarter and protect your family. Thanks for watching. Check your pantry, read the labels, and tonight, cook with something you can actually trust.